right. Welcome to the Talent Primetime Show. I'm Rom. I'm an enthusiast in people and leadership development, workforce transformation, and also social trends. And today I'd like to bring to you a topic which is very interesting and always discussed these days. It is about the Generation Z. Succeeding the millennials is a group of young, bright minds and interesting folks. Some of them are very eccentric. They're called the Generation Z. I thought of a way to capture the essence of who these people are, and instead of sharing with you what I read on the internet, I thought about a better way to do that, and it can't get any better than this. So today I have someone who's a Gen Z himself, who's going to come to shed some light on this very interesting topic. And now we have Mr. Chhayuth, who is a graduate from the American University of Phnom Penh. I'm going to let you tell us a bit more about himself.
Okay, so thank you, Ron, for introducing me, and just to give a more brief introduction about myself. My name is Chhayuth. As you mentioned earlier, I'm a recent graduate from American University of Phnom Penh, AUPP, majoring in business administration. So currently I am an APG, HR at Heineken Cambodia. So I first joined Heineken Cambodia in the year 2019, back in May, as an intern. I was doing a financial analyst. So I did that for 3 months, and then there was another program called APGP, Asia Pacific Graduate Program. So I dig a little deeper into the program and I found it was very interesting. So once you pass, you had the opportunities to basically work abroad into other operating companies around the Asia Pacific region. So it was very interesting. So I applied and then I passed. So now I'm doing my first assignment in my home OPCO for 3 months, and I will take the other 1.5 years abroad.
Sweet.
Yep.
Well, congratulations for having made it to the program. Yeah, you must have been very amazing because to be able to move from finance to human resources.
Yep.
Yeah. So I think you must have done a great job.
It's one hell of a roller coaster. Yeah.
Anyway, let us get down to the topic. So the first question I have for you, and I think a lot of people will definitely want to ask you this as well, is what does Gen Z mean to you personally, and to what extent do you identify yourself as part of this group?
Okay, so being a part of the Generation Z, for me, being very independent is truly important. So being able to make my own decisions, being my own boss, taking the initiative on my own account, and doing the things that I want to do in life without the strain of other people. So I think it all ties back to having freedom. And I think that's very common for people, my peers in the Generation Z, to have the freedom to do the things that we want to do and to take control of it.
Yeah. I mean, when you say freedom, it reminds me of that movie, Braveheart. Like William Wallace, and he said freedom, before he got killed.
That's all that now happens to me. Right?
All right, so tell me, do you think the Gen Z concept is of relevance and significance to the 2020 modern workplace and beyond at all?
I think so. I think that going forward, the concept behind the Generation Z's way of working will continue to be relevant as it is today, or even more relevant. So I think that currently the Generation Z makes up about 40% of the working and consumer population. So in order to retain them in the workplace, I think that employee engagement plays a really important role. So knowing how to compensate them, know how to communicate with them, and making sure that they feel connected with their peers, their colleagues, making sure that their voices are heard are very important. And also knowing that what they're doing in the company has meaning, and that the company should be able to communicate their values, communicate what they're doing, makes a difference in the world, makes a total difference in terms of how they view the workplace. So I think once companies get that concept nailed down right, they'll be able to retain more talents.
Yeah, and that time is not far from us, folks. By 2030, the Gen Z is going to dominate the workforce. They will become the most populous workforce segment in companies across the world, especially in developing countries where there's high population growth. So we got to brace ourselves for it. All right, and moving on to the next question is, I forgot the question. All right, so next question is, what is it like being you, a fresh graduate and an aspiring young leader? What is it like to be in the workplace?
So I asked a lot of questions, and most of the questions are about why. So that's what I'm currently doing. and I think that I put a lot of creativity at work. I think you know that as well. You're my manager, and I think that so I always try to make it a mindset. How can I better things? How can I improve things? How can I create another process that is in line with the company's vision and mission, and still be able to solve the issues that we currently have now in a better way? It's kind of like something we have in the supply chain called root cause analysis. So we find the root cause of the problem and we try to eliminate it. So that's the thing that I find most interesting in workplaces today.
So I hear a lot from you telling us about how you operate at work, how you adapt to the modern workplace. But I think it's also interesting to hear from you. What do you think as a Gen Z you have as advantages, to being in that group, to having grown up in that generation. But at the same time, what do you think are the common challenges that people like you face?
Okay, so I think that one of the advantages would be that we are very open-minded, we are very tech-savvy, we grew up with the internet, and we are very able to adapt very quickly to the changing environment, working environment, and we believe that there is work-life balance, and we tend to choose the companies that fit that category. But to compensate that, we also become very loyal to that company as well. And the disadvantages to that would be sometimes we tend to set high expectations for ourselves, and we tend to put pressure on ourselves as well in meeting those expectations. And in our pursuit to meet those expectations, sometimes we can be a bit selfish as well. And also another disadvantage would be that we are very susceptible to being distracted because there are a lot of entertainments, many forms of entertainments nowadays. And so our focus is not always there.
I see. A lot of these Gen Z folks say that they're often misunderstood, or that their generation is ignored.
Right on.
Do you think at the workplace people actually, when they talk to you, they think of you as a Gen Z, or do they even have time to think that he's from this generation, I need to adapt my communication style or something like that?
Not really. Sometimes people have a one-way approach to things, so they don't really take into consideration how they should communicate to a millennial or a Generation Z. So they take into account as a one-way approach to everything.
And the reason why Yud is here is because he's going to do us some good. So the next question is very important, and it will be beneficial for colleagues and managers of Generation Zers. So the question is, in general, do you see any common trends regarding how colleagues and managers or leaders of Gen Z should be working with and leading Gen Zs?
So I think that for me, personally, I want managers that care for my development, so making sure that we have future career growth in our career and that we have the support that we need. That's really important. And also in the workplace, they want people like me, we want to know that shit.
I want to simplify. Cái mong zoom đó biết. Này, zoom đó biết. And the reason why Yud is here today, he's here to do us some good. And the next question will shed light on how we can better work with these Gen Z and lead them very effectively in ways that will unleash their potential. So tell us, what are the common trends you see regarding how managers or colleagues who are very effective should be leading or working with Gen Z people?
I think that for people like me, my peers as well in the Generation Z, they want a manager that cares for them in terms of their development. So we want to know if there are any career growth and that we have the support that we need. At the same time, we want there to be more frequent feedback. So there needs to be more multiple check-ins with the managers throughout the week, and that will help uphold the employee retention as well as morale and productivity as well. So once we know that we have the support we need, we can go get what we want. And that's just really important for a Generation Z like me. That we feel that our voices are heard.
What I often encourage people to do is that they need to be happy at work, because when you're happy at work, you don't feel like you're working another day. you're doing something that you're really passionate about. You
like
feel
your
like you
hobby.
can, you can be who you are.
Yeah.
And I don't want these people from this generation to lose themselves or to try to cater to the adult world and the modern workplace too much that they lose their authenticity. So moving on to the next question, then building on it, your recommendation on how managers and colleagues should work with Gen Zs and how to lead them or manage them effectively. How would you recommend Gen Zers, people like you, to adapt to the modern workplace, but not lose your advantageous traits or propensities, and even go beyond as to shape the future of work?
Okay. So one of the tips that I have for people, especially Gen Zs, to adapt to the fast-paced environment that we currently do have in Heineken, Cambodia, is the first one is to ask more questions. So I think that especially when we're young, we don't have much experience, we're fresh graduates, people don't really expect much from you as of yet. So it's a perfect opportunity for you to learn as much as you can about the role and make those mistakes while you still can. And the second tip would definitely be able to connect with your peers. So it's really important to be able to connect with people on not emotional, but also at a personal level. Because when you only engage with people related to work, it's going to be difficult for them to gain your trust in the long term.
Yeah.
And the next tip, I think there's a learning approach at Heineken as well, is the 7, 20 and 10. So basically 7% goes into learning from on-the-job training.
Yep.
The other 20% is learning from others, and the 10% is through formal education. And the last tip would be to be very ambitious. So set far-stretching goals and set high expectations for yourself, so that you're constantly.
Alright, that was very interesting, but I just want to probe a little bit more. And it ties back to how you bring your authentic self to work. And I think Gen Z does have a lot to offer to the world. And I really don't want them to fall into the trap of, just because now they're in their young adolescence and they need to enter the workforce, be in this adult world, and they have to fully adapt themselves so much so that they lose who they are. So tell me, how do Gen Zers adapt to the workplace but also maintain that balance between operating effectively in the workplace, but at the same time being who they are, being creative, and carving out a place for themselves?
Yep. So I think there's that perfect balance between utilizing your creativity at a certain extent, but also at the same time being very structured in your approach. So being structured meaning that you do the things that is proven, that is validated by other people. But at the same time, you need to always try to innovate. So by innovate, it's not like you go into a total restructuring of the whole process, but trying to think how you can better that approach, how can you improve that approach, how can you create another process that stays in line with what has been done before, but tackles the problem at a more efficient. So it's, in a way, it's trying to innovate. It's trying to do things. It's trying to adjust the status quo a little bit.
Yeah.
But you cannot be too innovative. You cannot be too creative, because that also comes at a cost. Because when you're very innovative, you don't really do much. You get the structured way to solving things. You just, I need to innovate. But once you don't have a solid base of what you're currently doing now, you're never going to be able to do anything. Conversely, if you only think about structure and you don't try to change, you don't try to adjust the status quo or anything like that, then you're just going to be the same. And the workforce that you're currently operating in is never going to be any bigger than it is now. And so it's the people that are going to develop any further. So there's always that right balance between the two.
Okay. Awesome. So why don't we sum it up for the audience?
Awesome.
So in terms of Gen Z folks, who are they? So there are people who enjoy autonomy, so having freedom, over how they do things, but also at the same time receive the right guidance and support and frequent check-ins from their peers and managers, like that.
Yep. And also there are very people that are very tech savvy. They're born in the digital age, so they are coming very strongly, and so it's gonna be very good if the workforce is there, are equipped with the policies,
digital tools,
digital tools that help them progress even further and utilize their talents even further.
Yeah, and I heard in this conversation that you also said that these guys, would be very happy with a company that's able to provide them clarity and career path.
That's true.
and for them to be rest assured that they receive the right development opportunities and also able to grow with the company in the long term.
Yep.
Yeah. That's awesome. So it doesn't sound too hard to really work with a Gen Z, right? Anyway, thank you very much for spending your time to listen to this podcast. I had a great time interviewing Mr. Chhayuth. It was a great convo. I really like to do this again.
Sure.
Not too
Long from now on.
not too long from now on, and discussing other topics relevant to the workplace.
Okay.
Cool.
Thank you.
God, it's not easy.